only like Instagram for the fact that I can put in music into my reels. It actually makes me wonder why I don't use TikTok, because the
Mm,
shortcomings of reels are what TikTok is all about. I just don't want to get into TikTok.
yeah.
I don't know if you've got TikTok tips coming up, but
I mean, some of these can't, no, I don't have specific TikTok tips. It's a tongue twister.
TTT, T3s.
TTTs, T to the power of three. But
Building a successful real estate career requires you to adapt, pivot, and constantly master new skills.
We're Katie and Daniel Steinfeld. We've built our own innovative brokerage, and in this podcast, we've assembled actionable tips and strategies that you can implement to take your business to its maximum potential.
It's time to level up. Level up.
Level up.
welcome everyone to this week's episode of Level Up. I'm Katie and here with my partner, Daniel. Hello.
Hello. Hello, hello. Good to
So
see you.
it's good to see you too on our new computers with our fancy cameras and our not working sound, but we're getting there. It's a work in
Yes.
progress.
We don't yet have new microphones yet, so
Yeah, that's okay. All right, today we are going to get into some social media tips for you. So grab a pen or pencil, and a piece of paper.
3 pens, a pencil, two highlighters, and a stapler.
That's right, because we've got some sweet, sweet science that we're going to drop on you today. About
There it is.
10 to 15 tips for you, roughly, approximately.
Depends on how long we go, but you'll do more talking, so it'll be short.
That's true.
All
All
right,
right.
so hit us. So this is for everybody out there who is already killing it in social media, getting into social media. This is a cross-board tip and trick festival.
Some kind of episode.
This is it. This is lists and bullet points,
So listy, so bullet pointy, so
color
amazing.
commentary from me. You get to drop the useful
Best of
info.
both worlds. Best of both worlds. Yeah. Great. So let's get into tip number one. So tip number one revolves around testimonials. And when we're talking testimonials, we've seen a lot of people copy and paste things that they've received from their clients from maybe a Google testimonial, Google review. We've also seen people take it to another level where they might have their clients on video giving a video testimonial. But this one I thought was pretty cool and maybe less of a burden on those clients that might be a bit camera shy. But if you ask them to do a voice recording of the testimonial and then in Reels, you can use that recording and then put pictures or a video of the, maybe it was a listing, it was for sellers or even for buyers. Ask the listing agent for permission for pictures and have kind of like an overlay of the home that they just bought. So I thought that was a cool idea.
I think it gives you a lot more freedom of the visual, which is what we all want. I've seen a lot of people struggle, even just with when you do the testimonial or thank you or just sold image of the people in front of the house or with a sign.
Yeah.
That's fine, but half the time it's somebody else's sign, which I always found kind of weird. I mean, most of the time people do it when it's a listing, but then, when you've got happy buyers, you want to be able to feature the visuals that are the things that support the message you're trying to give, right? So I think a real approach allows you to do that, video, images, the audio is compelling. I would say, and I don't think you just said this, but if I did, I zoned out, to make sure that captions are on there. Did you say
Yeah.
that? Um, did you say that? I don't think you did.
No.
Okay. But yeah, I think with any audio, whenever there's words on audio without captions now, the way people scroll on their phones, it's helpful. Even if they hear it, there's too many there's too many risks of a lack of clarity of what people are saying, right? Like even when you listen to our podcast or watching the video, watch it with captions on, right? Or have that, because it's hard to understand sometimes and you want to get the full message across. You can control it and hold people's attention with the images and the words.
Well, that's another great second tip, I think, is just the use of captions is really important. One thing, though, that I find sometimes when I'm watching captions is it's not actually the correct words.
Right.
I showed you one time where it was like really offside, but it actually what the caption said. So just edit your captions or make sure you proofread them before actually posting the video. But I mean, even when we're watching movies now or a show, we have Netflix, we have captions on. I don't know when that happened. Like, why are we so reliant on captions now? I feel like everybody's like that.
It's a weird transition. I was listening to people talking about TikTok on the radio yesterday. It was old folks like us not understanding how people get news from TikTok, like how that's even a news source. But then there were younger people commenting and making good points, which is, this is off topic, but it's the same thing. Like the world's just changing, our attention span, where our eyes go, multitasking, all of those things. I can't understand what I'm hearing anymore in a normal movie. It's kind of scary. Like I've grown so accustomed to reading. I mean, it's helpful when you're watching Money Heist and the actual show is in Spanish and you can read the subtitles, but now the world has become subtitle driven even in English. So
Yeah. Even
yeah,
our kids, they're like, if there's no subtitles or captions, they're like, oh, we need to turn them on. So
which is
yeah.
good because they need to read. But
Yeah.
yeah, all the more reason that you need to make sure your subtitle or your captions are in line, the right spelling, the right words, so that people can follow along.
Exactly. All right, number three, because you just dropped sweet science in between my one and two. We got number three. Instagram reel covers. So when you're posting an Instagram reel, you can either choose a cover from the actual video. And a lot of times it's, if you're talking, it's an awkward pose of your face because it's hard to get an actual normal picture when you're talking. Like, I don't, it's possible. My God. Yeah, exactly. If you're watching us on video, Daniel's giving us an example. So upload a picture from your phone. And the best way to do it is, I mean, we love using Canva because it gives you the exact dimensions for what you need. And another reason why it's important to have nice looking covers is if somebody comes to your Instagram page and they might have seen one of your videos and then they go to explore your page a little bit more, it's more likely that that person will stay on your page if they see videos that they know what the video is about, number one. So if you've got a good title, like a YouTube thumbnail that we see, like similar idea. If people know what the video is about, they're more likely to click on it and more engagement you're going to get, and so on and so forth. So I think that's really important. I think we've almost lost with Instagram with photos, like that whole aesthetic appeal that you used to see with Instagram, and everybody just wanted like every photo to be perfect. And now I feel like we've transitioned into like all of these awkward cover photos because we're putting out all of the reels and the videos and that kind of stuff. But it's important to get back to a more consistent look on your Instagram profile to show people what you're really talking about.
That's one of the 2 points I was going to make from the consistency side. Is it's not just about letting them know what it is and making it clear, but the more you follow that they're all very consistent with one another, the more aesthetically pleasing and easy to navigate your pages. Also, little hack, which kind of goes against what you're saying, but it's something I've found is a way to do this. If you just make a lot of videos, or if you're, I don't know, if you're just not into creating separate thumbnails, this is still do it the way you said. But one way that I've hacked it is when the reel I'm making or the video I'm making has text boxes within it, like it's kind of taking people through a story.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose the appropriate screen grab with the text box,
Yeah.
where it's actually speaking to what the video is about as a cover page,
Yeah.
I've found that definitely in the viewership, probably because it's easier to understand what people are going to see, it achieves a similar thing, but you do sacrifice the consistency potentially, unless all of your videos and reels look the same way with the same sort of title boxes throughout. But that's another way to make a cover page that isn't just a weird photo.
Yeah. Yeah, I've started, and this is very preliminary, but anything that has to do with reviewing like a news story or a market update, I've created a consistent reel cover for that. So it has kind of like the same look and feel. But then if I'm just doing a reel that's more of a funny thing, I keep those with more of a cover of the actual video. So I mean, I'm thinking maybe people can decipher between them. I don't know. But yeah, it's good to just have some consistency.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. 4, um, going to stories, and I think most of us use Instagram stories or even TikTok stories, or LinkedIn has stories. I think still Facebook. We all have stories, whatever social platform you use. But making use of those polls, just as a reminder, asking very innocent yet helpful real estate type questions to people, I think is a good way. I think is a good way to strike up conversation. So ideas like, are you currently living in your dream home? Or if you could change anything about your home, what would you change? Or, different things, try switching it up, but you might find because people, when they answer those polls, they're not feeling as pressured because you're not speaking directly to them. You're speaking to like your followers. And so sometimes you'll find people actually are more open to answering those questions. And that allows you to open the door to a conversation.
The less it's about you, the more it can be about them. So
Mm-hmm.
invite it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything real estate related, like what drives you crazy, the most crazy about real estate agents, maybe you'd get some good feedback there. So yeah. Okay. Next one is something that we're struggling with and we continue to struggle with is just the use of mics when you're doing video or reels. We have a lavalier mic. It hasn't worked all that well for me recently. So I think I might have to get another one. But I've seen a lot of videos, especially when people are like in a condo building or in a house. So they're not right. It's one thing if you're right in front of your phone and you're talking, you can still hear the sound. It's decent. But it's when people are like 5 or 10 feet away from their phone and they're trying to talk and there's like all of this echo. You can barely understand what they're saying. They might not use captions, and it's kind of like a useless video because you can't really understand what they're saying. So investing in a small lav mic or something like that is a really good idea.
On top of that, regardless of your mic, consistency is really important here as well. Because even with a so-so mic, like the ones we're talking on right now, if I start talking and then I do this while I'm talking and I'm still talking over here while you're listening to me, if it's a phone, if it's a lav, if it's something in front of you, if you're not aware of the way your sound differentiates as you move yourself relative to your mic, might be a great mic, but it might, if it's a condenser mic versus a dynamic, and these are things for another episode, it's going to pick up sound from different directions.
Right.
And certain mics only pick it up in a straight line versus wherever you are all the way around it, right? So be aware of it's not just having a mic that picks up good audio, it's also being consistent in the way you use it while you're using it.
That's a good point. So we'll report back maybe early next year when we've got a better handle on this whole sound situation that we continue to struggle with.
We're gonna do an audio episode once we've got the whole setup. Like what are we now? Like 160 episodes in, and we still haven't figured out our audio on a podcast that's built on the back of audio. That makes sense.
I know. We started strong, and then there's just too many complications with, I think it was what we had. It was just too complicated. It's almost like we bought things that made things too complicated, but now we've got nothing. So it's not any better.
It's okay. It's a proper square one. We're gonna hit this together in the new year.
Yeah.
We're gonna kick off the new year with a new audio setup. How about that? That'll be my word for this year. Audio.
It's a good word.
For those of you who have listened, we have to do a word episode coming up at the end of this year.
I know. I was talking to my mom today about the theme for this year. I find, especially towards the end of this year, has been canceled plans because everybody's getting sick. I just feel like everything is getting canceled all over the place. I don't know about you guys, but I just feel like everything that we have booked, it just like it there's always like a 75% chance that it's going to get canceled. 75 chance.
Well, that's different. The last 2 years, it was just a foregone conclusion that nothing was
Yeah,
even going to be planned in the first place. Now we've
that's
made it to planning. They just don't finish. Now they don't
I
have.
know. And now I feel like I'm in this mode where I kind of hope it gets canceled because like it gets canceled so often. And I'm like, my introverted self is saying, like, please just
I
cancel.
love when things get canceled. I love it. So anybody out there, if we've got like a coffee date book, I'm not going to feel bad if you've got to cancel. Just give us like 24, 48 hours notice so I can
Yeah,
celebrate with my empty calendar.
that's right. All right. Next is group profiles on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's something that has been released, I think earlier this year it was released. But basically, you can create a group similar to a Facebook group for anything. So if you're targeting a local community or a geographic area, you could have a group for that, which allows anybody that's part of the group to post on there, to have conversations, to chat about things. If it's not a real estate group, it could be like maybe safety in a certain area, or like an investors group if you're focused on investors. There's so many different options, but I haven't seen many people make use of it, at least in our circles yet.
Really, that's often the sign of be a first mover on this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Because as more and more of them do get made, if and when, you don't want to be the one catching on to the trend when there's already a dozen groups that have a similar theme, right?
Yeah. No,
So
no, my mind's
that's a hot
racing
take.
now. We could create one for our level up group or on Instagram. It could be good.
What say y'all? Let us know in the comments.
And leave us a review while you're at it.
A voice review that we can turn into a reel with our own images of choosing. See tip number 1.
That's right.
Oh wow,
Wait,
that was an eye roll joke from you there.
was it? I
The
didn't mean
video
to
will
do it all.
show eye roll.
On minute 17. Sorry, I didn't mean to do an eye roll. It's kind of like built into my character.
Very used to it.
Okay. Next up, talking more about Instagram, is there is a feature if you have a business account. And so I'm very torn on this because creator accounts allow you to use popular songs, which I love, especially because I use a lot of reels. But if you have a business account, which doesn't allow you to use music, you can create guides, which are like mini blogs where you can talk about places, or maybe like a roundup of different posts. Maybe you've had like a series of posts that talks about being a landlord, or first time home buyers, first time home sellers. You can create kind of like a roundup of all of those ideas and create a guide and have it available on Instagram for people to use and consume and read. So I haven't used it myself, but I found out about it and I thought that's a really cool idea, but only if you have a business account, unfortunately. I don't know why Instagram does that. It's really dumb.
Split between creator and business makes no sense to me because the features that have been limited to creators are the kinds of features that businesses that are creative would want to use. So I'm with you. Like I only like Instagram for the fact that I can put in music into my reels. It actually makes me wonder why I don't use TikTok, because the shortcomings of reels are what TikTok is all about. I just don't want to get into TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got TikTok tips coming up, but
I mean, some of these can't. No, I don't have specific TikTok tips. It's a tongue twister.
TTTs, T3s.
TTTs, T to the power of 3. But yeah, I think because I'm so used to Instagram, and there's so many different annoying things about Instagram, I find. I don't know if you notice the same thing when you're creating reels or trying to do something. Like there's little glitchy things that drive me absolutely bonkers. Like I think if you're adding a location to your reel or something, if you go out, like if you're about to post and then you like go through those features where you can add a location or maybe add some, maybe add something, there's it will, when it takes me back to the post before I post it, it removes my caption, deletes the caption entirely. So unless I remember to copy the caption and then paste it back in once it gets erased, like it's so frustrating. It's so annoying.
That I have not experienced, but I'm very quick with reels. It's like a one sitting, boom, 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 put it up and don't think about it and don't edit it too much.
Mm,
So I'm sure there's lots of glitches though.
yeah, annoying. Okay,
Fix it, Instagram.
that's right. All right, number 8. Uploading. So when you're posting video, it's really important to post in high quality. So, like, you're making sure your lighting is good, making sure the quality of your video is good, because whatever platform you're on, you'll get ranked higher, like through the algorithm, if your post looks good, like if the quality is good. So you can go into Instagram and adjust your video settings if that's something that you want to do or look into. So if you go to settings and you go to data usage and then click on upload highest to highest quality, then that will make sure it'll take a little bit longer to upload, but then you'll have a higher quality video, which will then hopefully get you more engagement on your video posts.
Do you know if the way the algorithm supposedly works is tied to whether or not you uploaded that way or what the actual quality is?
I
You know
think
what I
it's a
mean?
combination for
Okay.
sure.
Because I mean, from what I've seen, it's just I'm baffled by the things that
Yes.
clearly the algorithm picks up.
Yeah.
And I know that my
Yeah.
two most popular reels that I've ever put up are both low
Yeah.
quality, but I've uploaded them the way you've said, where I upload it at highest quality,
Hmm.
but they're like videos that have been taken from a distance, so they're still kind of the highest quality is still not great quality.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's because of what you said is, it made the attempt to put it up as good as possible rather than whatever it was taken at. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't know if we're going to get into algorithms here, but that is like
A little bit. Yeah.
most,
Not
the most
totally.
confusing thing to me.
That's what I've I've given up on the fact. I've given up on um the goal of trying to figure out how
Oh,
to
me too. Like
it's
it's not the goal. It's just when it hits, I ask myself, why did this hit? Right? Because there's very similar in different genres. There's not a consistency to the ones that have been home runs, except for the fact that a couple things, except generic always does better when it's not a specific about like a property or one of our kids or whatever, like specific, like generic messages for obvious reasons do better. Um, and I forget where I was going with the other thing. It's just not there's no consistency. There's just no consistency to what it is.
Yeah, I would say like from the ones I've posted, I find the ones that are more related to parenthood are ones like those are the ones that have gotten me. Like there's one that got me like 100 and something thousand views, which was my top one. But there's others that have gotten like tens of thousands of views, and those are typically like the motherhood, parenthood, like because I think more people can relate to that, and then it gets sent out to more people. I think it also has to do with the audio that you use. So if you have a trending audio, whether it's a clip from a movie or a song, that will typically do better. But I still don't get it because I'm like, is it the hashtags? Is it the time that I post? Like, is it the amount of people that like if more people see it first, then it keeps going? I don't know.
It's that it's there's not. I believe there's an algorithm. I'm not like an algorithm denier. However,
Yeah.
even something as simple as like same thing like my biggest reel has whatever it is, 100 and something thousand views, but not a lot of engagement. It had
Yeah.
early engagement, but now I've got a reel that continues. It's been up for 7 weeks, and every day it's getting 100 to 200 likes.
Hmm.
But that's on like less than 1,000 views. So the
Right.
ratio of likes to views
Mhm.
is crazy, but it's
Yeah.
not being fed like more than that other one was, right? And it wasn't
Yeah.
fed from Instagram to Facebook, which is how the first one took off, was that it was
Mm.
getting trendy
Oh,
on
okay.
Facebook and Instagram. This one has 100 views on Facebook and 40,000 or 50,000 on Instagram.
Hmm.
So I don't know what feeds it because lots of people are engaging. Like 1 in 4 people is liking it,
Yeah.
but it's not showing it to more people. People are sharing and like the saving and sharing and not
Yeah.
retweet. I guess sharing is the equivalent of retweeting on Instagram.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing because I'd like to be able to keep an eye on the ones that do well and the ones that don't. Who is it doing well with and why is it being shown to more people? And
Yeah.
there's not really a clear answer. I know there's like you want to put yourself in the best position,
Hmm.
but like you said, like I don't do this targeting a number or hoping I get, because at the end of the day, if it's a business play, it doesn't matter if someone in like Morocco is liking a video I put up there, right?
That's the thing, like with my most viewed videos, it's people from other countries. Like it's not even
Right.
there's no point. Like I'm not even like it's not even doing anything more than any other video that I post. So at the end of the day, like it is fun when you see one of your videos take off. But really it doesn't mean anything. Like it doesn't like to your business or anything like that. So the idea is just keep putting out the content, keep putting like and remember who your audience is too. I think that's really important because like that's something that I'm still like kind of processing as I start doing more video. It's like, okay, but who is my audience? Because I feel like sometimes it's a mixed bag, and then you're alienating your core group because you're also putting out content that might not necessarily connect with them. So it's a tough balance, but I think as real estate agents, you do have like you have a core group of followers that you want to appeal to with your content. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we ready for the next one?
I was going to go on another tangent, but hit me with more tips. I'm sure.
I saw you hold back a little bit.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. The next tip is just around the link that you can use in your Instagram bio, as well as on TikTok, because you only have one link that you can use. So making use of one of those services like link in bio or Linktree, if you're not already doing that, is a really great thing. The use of it has kind of gone down because now on stories you can put a link in, which is really helpful. That's like changed everything. But unfortunately, as we know in captions, you can't put a link. So referring people back to your bio to refer to what you're talking about is really great. And these platforms, I find, even the free versions, I know we use Linktree, and it allows you to upload like images or video that relates to a specific link, which I think is really cool as well.
And if and when you use those, be diligent to keep them up to date
Yes.
because
Yeah, that's
often
true.
often the links you put on there might be a current listing or a virtual tour or your latest whatever. And I don't have to explain why it's not a good idea to do that and leave it there for 2 months after the property's already sold,
Yeah.
right? And someone goes to your link tree and the first two links are expired listings or old episodes of something. The hack, if you do link to something like a podcast or a YouTube channel or whatever, link to the channel, not the episode. So that as you update things, it's just real time updating to the latest
Yeah.
homepage of that thing. But yeah, you need to keep that up to date or it does you a disservice, I find, if you're sending people obviously to places that are not as
Yeah.
relevant.
It's like when blogs used to be more popular and you'd go to somebody's blog and the last post they made was from like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like people are like, oh, that person really doesn't care about updating their information.
Well, and that can be a sub problem of this too. If you're linking people to a YouTube page and the last video you put up was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Like, be aware of where you're sending people and make sure it's a place you want them to go where your most recent content is.
Okay. Number 10, I think we're on, is basically the idea, at least in Instagram, that hashtags are on the outs and keywords are coming in. And the CEO of Instagram made an announcement earlier this year just talking about how that is the case. And there's been a few case studies on people using hashtags for posts versus keywords in their captions. And most people have found that the keywords, those posts perform better than if you use like hashtags. And through the years there's been so many different proper ways of doing it, from like, I remember them saying like 25 to 30 hashtags you should use for every post, and then it went down to like 5 really good ones. So I think that's really important though, to keep in mind the keywords, like making sure you're really giving thought to what the post is about, making sure you're keeping that in the captions so that people can find you, and hopefully the post can perform better.
I'm I'm so on the fence since the beginning with hashtags, like the argument of do you put it in the caption versus as a comment to keep it
Yeah.
separate, all of those things. I mean, and it's the same in every platform. Like there's hashtags and keywords in LinkedIn and Facebook and all those things. But it also comes down to the actions of who your audience is again, right? Like I myself have never searched for a word
Yeah.
on Instagram, right?
Mhm.
So if you've got a consistent hashtag that is your brand, maybe, and you want to make sure that's on all your things, on the one hand, it's an easy way for people to find your content. On the other hand, if they're looking actively for your content, they're already going to be on your page where all the stuff is, right? So yeah, I wouldn't say drop it, or switch from hashtag to keyword or vice versa, but don't let that dictate the way that you're putting content out there, or blame it for the reason you're not getting the engagement you want, in my opinion.
The next one is just your pinned posts. So you can pin up to 3 posts on your Instagram profile. So that's really good for realtors because you can showcase who you are to people, maybe a great listing video that you have, maybe a testimonial, something along those lines, because those are the posts that people are going to see first when they go to your profile. So try to make use of that and give some thought to how you want to be presenting yourself to new people that might want to follow you.
I mean, this ties into what we've talked about before on your Instagram homepage, which maybe you're going to be talking about too, like that
Yeah.
grid that people see.
Mm-hmm.
The first impression is what comes up at the top, right? And I mean, I'm a fan of, and I don't do it as consciously as I used to when I first, heard about this, but making it a good cross section of the message you want to send people. You can send people a clear message about who you are and your brand through those 9 pictures or 6 pictures or 3 pictures, right? If it's family, business, hobby, or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah.
But making them consistent and showing people without having to make them go through your stuff what you're all about is such an important thing, because the culture of social media and Instagram especially is very swipe, swipe, keep going, keep going, keep going until something catches your eye. And so it's the same thing. If someone makes it to your profile page, you've got 5 seconds, whether or not they're going to stay there or keep looking or be intrigued or not.
Mhm.
And it ties into your audience and who you want to connect with message also, right? Because there's people who might see that and it's not for them, but that's okay, right? Because if those aren't the people you're going to want to deal with anyway, this isn't about creating a vanilla generic this appeals to everybody thing necessarily.
Especially if you're a local realtor in a certain community, like having a post about that community, a picture of like the neighborhood or whatever. Like it just depends on, as you said, what your focus is, but having that represent you through the first few posts is really important. And then another thing is we kind of get into maybe a slower period with the holidays, but just in general, like the use of reels is really like taken off and they're super popular. Like I've gone from looking through people's stories at night to now just scrolling through reels. That's my TV or my Netflix, I guess. But I think we overlook the fact that we've got more awareness of how to use this platform or even TikTok or whatever platform you're using. But a lot of local businesses really don't. And you can, if you're, especially if you're looking to have a more local focus in a specific area, you can do great posts about the neighborhood, about the local business. Like go in, take a few pictures, do a few videos of like the inside of the restaurant or whatever, and put together a reel, tag that business, and they'll probably be very appreciative of that work. And obviously, it's a relationship that you're trying to build with local businesses in the area. So I would say that's something that you should take advantage of. And a lot of people would probably really appreciate that you're doing it because they might not necessarily know how to make it look good. Like you go through people's reels and like they're not formatted right, or, there's just so much there that you can really help people out with in addition to real estate. So I'd give that a try too.
Obviously becomes, for all of you who are wondering what sort of content you should be putting out there, it gives you another idea for content for yourself, right? So
That that was like 13, maybe.
that's
I don't
all
know.
you got.
Stop counting.
I don't know how many that is, but it was a good number. It was in the teens. It was in the low double digits. Uh, yeah, I think if I can add on to it, just I've only recently realized how much social media dictates who you are to most of the world,
Mm.
right? As a person, as a brand, whatever. And we've talked about this, like there's people who have impressions of us just based on what they see there, because that's how they consume media, full stop, right? And it's shocking to me on a personal level, good or bad. It's not even a bad thing. You're laughing, but you know what? You know where I'm going. No, 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 this isn't about you. You think this is about you.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no,
No,
just,
sorry. I thought you were
just
talking
no, I'm
about
just
them.
talking about myself now. Like, just people think I'm a serious guy
Mm.
from what I put out there. And maybe that's by design because I want to make sure that, the knowledgeable end of real estate and all that is what I tend to share more of. But it's completely changed what the people I'm not close with think about me, for better or for worse, right? And we need to be aware of that with everything we put out, especially because we're on this quest to be consistent. And if you're consistent, that's great, but you be consistent with a message that you're comfortable having out there for people you don't know to consume, right? Because people will talk to people and people will come and see you, like we've said, and they're going to get the person who they've seen online and expect the person they've seen online, right? So I'm not phony in my social media and everything is me, but it's not the whole, at least now I know it's not the whole me. And so there's elements where we were talking to somebody today who said, like, they spoke to somebody about me and they said something that was not computing about what I'm actually like, because that's not what I look like on social media. But it was someone close to me, I guess, who knows the real me. So it's interesting. And I think that we should be aware of that, not change what we're doing, but just understand that that's the impression people have of us, because that's how so many people are spending their entirety of evaluating and consuming media.
Yeah, and it can be dangerous. And for all those people out there that might not necessarily be in all that into social media, like that's okay as well. Like I don't think you should force this on yourself because there's so many other ways to grow your business. And ultimately, like a lot of this stuff can be a really big time suck as well. Like it takes a while. Like if you want to build a good social media presence, it obviously takes a really long time to develop that consistency. And if you don't enjoy it, you're going to fail before you even get to the point where you're seeing some results or seeing some feedback that you're wanting to see. So yeah, it's a dangerous part. Like, I mean, we were going to do a podcast about the dangers of social media, but I guess we can just end it off with these are the dangers. Just be aware.
Well, that's it. It's just something to be aware of. It's changed so much. I don't know if it's progress or not, but social media is like everything. Like, it's replaced every type of media, every type of advertising in one way or another. And it's great that you're on the cusp of that. If you're listening to this, take advantage of these tips. But it's a really powerful tool. As much as it's a fun thing to put out there, it's powerful, and it is your message. And in a lot of cases, it's your only connection with the people you're trying to reach. So that's the power and the danger at the same time.
Yeah. Right. That was it. And see. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you think can you comment? Good brain fart.
Well, it depends on where you're listening to this, but yeah, of course.
Yeah. Comment or give us a review. Share this with anybody that might want to have some good social media tips. And we will be back early next year. Is that correct? We said we're
do one word. Well, our next episode is going to be our word for the year, but I don't know if that's coming out pre-New Year's or post-New Year's.
But we will take a bit of a break in between for the holidays.
And you should too.
You should. You deserve it.
Make some content. Batch your content before the new year.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
You guys have a great holiday season. And we'll
Peace
talk
out.
soon. Bye-bye.
Level up.